Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce the West Virginia University Eberly College of Arts and Sciences graduating class of 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the singing of our national anthem, sung by Nicoletta Champa, music and vocal performance major from Monroeville, Pennsylvania.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Good morning. Good morning. Okay, I'm Bob Jones, and I have the privilege of serving as the Dean of the Eberly College of Arts and Sciences. On behalf of the college, it is my pleasure to welcome you here today as we celebrate the achievements of our graduate degree candidates. Let's take a moment now to congratulate them on their accomplishments. Hey. Those in attendance today are some of the more than 445 individuals who have earned a graduate degree from the Eberly College this academic year. We know that their accomplishments reflect the dedication and support of many others, some of whom are here today. We should recognize the faculty members who have worked closely with these candidates, mentoring them as junior colleagues within their disciplines. Would those faculty members in attendance please stand for a moment and be recognized? We also know that there are many others in our graduates' lives whose support and encouragement have enabled them to pursue their academic aspirations. I ask that those parents, siblings, spouses, and friends of the candidates please stand for a moment of recognition as well. With us today are several members of the university's senior leadership. I would ask that they please stand as their names are called and remain standing. And audience, please hold your applause until all are recognized. James Clements, President of West Virginia University. Fred King, Vice President of Research and Economic Development. Catherine Carricker, Associate Provost for Graduate Education. Jay Cole, Chief of Staff for the President's Office and a graduate of Eberly College. Later in today's program, we will be celebrating the exceptional accomplishments of West Virginia's first woman to serve as Secretary of State. I'm pleased to recognize in the audience today the third woman to serve in that role, West Virginia's current Secretary of State, Natalie Tennant, who's here today with her husband, Eric Wells, a West Virginia senator, and their daughter, Delaney. Natalie, Eric, Delaney. We would also like to acknowledge and thank graduates who have served this nation with valor and sacrifice. The red, white, and blue cords these students wear today are a tribute to their selfless service. We also honor faculty and staff who have served. Let's thank them all for the dedication and commitment that they and their families have given. Graduates, commencement, as the word implies, is a time to look forward to all that you will accomplish as future scholars, leaders, innovators, and creators. It marks a transition point in your life, the transition from learning and preparing for a future to leading and making that future a reality. But what will your future look like? To reflect on this question, let's take a look back for a moment. During your undergraduate experiences, each of you focused on building analytical and communication skills, the hallmark of liberal education. You became aware that there are many ways to define a question, to solve problems, or create new approaches. But you had little time to practice what you had learned. You had a large number of subjects to study, and so most of those courses were more or less introductory. It was graduate school where you put your training and learning to the test. You used seminars, research projects, high-level coursework, internships with high levels of responsibility, and other experiences to do things like ask and answer your own questions, or envision and realize your own creative work. So how does that play into your future? Like it or not, you are now perceived as leaders. People are going to start looking to you to provide critical advice, to make big decisions, to plan and implement key strategies, to be perceptive, to be models of good citizenship, and to be scholars. People will want you to help them make their lives better. That's what's in store for you in your future. It sounds like a tall order to fill, but you know what? You can do it. We have seen your transformation. Ask any faculty member, they will tell you that the difference between the beginning and end of your graduate career has been enormous. You have literally gone from knowing what can be done to knowing that you can do it. Since you're now leaders whom we all look up to and rely on, I urge you to be confident. Yes, you'll make some mistakes, but learn from them and remain confident. And remember, the door of opportunity has not been opened for you. Rather, you have invented your own door, and now you're about to walk through it to an exciting future. We are exceedingly proud of your accomplishments and feel honored that you are part of the Mountaineer family. At this time, I would like to welcome WVU President Jim Clements and Faculty Senate Chair Michael Mays to the podium as we recognize a very special guest who is with us today receiving an honorary degree. Dr. Michael Mays, WVU Faculty Senate Chair and Eberly Professor for Outstanding Teaching in the Department of Mathematics, will introduce this year's honorary degree recipient. Dr. Mays represents our exceptional WVU faculty who influence our nation's progress through teaching, research, and service. President Clements will confer the honorary degree.
Though she was not born in West Virginia, Helen Holt is a true mountaineer and a pioneering public servant. She was West Virginia's first female Secretary of State, served in the State House of Delegates, and led the most important program in housing and long-term health care for the elderly in the 20th century. Mrs. Holt began her public service career in 1955 after the untimely death of her husband, Rush Holt Sr. He had previously served in the U.S. Senate and, at the time of his death, was a member of the West Virginia House of Delegates. Mrs. Holt served out his unexpired term in that body. In 1957, she became Secretary of State. 3 years later, President Eisenhower appointed her to create a program to lead the nation away from unsafe, inefficient nursing homes. Mrs. Holt established nationally high standards for the care of the elderly and oversaw the construction of 1,000 modern long-term health care facilities. Her work was so successful, she was reappointed by 6 subsequent presidents. Her family's tradition of public service is carried on through her son, U.S. Representative Rush Holt, Jr. of New Jersey. Mrs. Holt has also been active in document preservation through her support of the West Virginia collection at the WVU Library. We are pleased to present Mrs. Holt with an honorary degree as part of West Virginia University's commencement exercises. Mr. President, I present Mrs. Holt.
Helen Holt, in recognition of your distinguished career and by the virtue of the authority vested in me by the West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctorate of Humane Letters with all the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. In testimony thereof, I hand you this diploma and cause you to be invested with this hood. Honorary degrees are very special designations given only to those individuals with records of outstanding service, dedication, and leadership. West Virginia University is awarding 4 other honorary degrees this weekend to Dr. Vincent Ito, Dr. Jenny Hunter-Severa, Dr. Jed DiPaolo, and Dr. Ken Kendrick. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Holt to the podium for a brief response.
May I just greet you all by saying, friends. When I married Rush Holt, I knew I was going to have to love West Virginia. But when I came to West Virginia, I discovered that the families had lived here for several generations, and they were slow to accept newcomers. So when I was accepted as Rush's wife, I was happy and wanted to be a good mother and a good wife and mother. And I was Rush's helper all the time. We did everything together. I worked with him. I even earned the title of being the hardest working unpaid attaché in the state legislature. I tried hard to do everything that was expected of Rush's wife. I learned about West Virginia, and I learned to know its people. Then, when Rush died, and I was left with 3 young children and no income, I knew I had to go right to work, but I didn't know how to begin. I was a helper. I wasn't used to being on my own. So I did the one thing that I knew I could do. I went to the Lord and asked Him to take charge of my life. And He did. I never had to look for a job. I was able to put 3 children through college. He led me over, or carried me over, a lot of challenges. He led me to be to serve the people of West Virginia and beyond. My husband's last words to me were, it was on a snowy day in February, in his hospital room where I was sitting quietly and he hadn't talked all day. Suddenly he spoke up loud and clear. "Helen, always remember that with God, all things are possible." So I'm here today. I've been accepted by West Virginians as Mrs. Rush Holt, and then as Secretary of State as Helen Holt. And now, this honor, which Rush didn't live long enough to receive, and I am getting the highest honor from the university. Now I feel I really belong. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you very much indeed, Dr. Helen Holt. It's now my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker, the Honorable Rush Holt, United States Representative for New Jersey's 12th Congressional District and son of Dr. Helen Holt. Representative Holt has an outstanding set of accomplishments as well. They are in science, innovation, government, leadership. He's a physicist by training with a BA in physics from Carleton College and a master's and Ph.D. degree from New York University. Dr. Holt spent the early part of his career as assistant director of Princeton University's Plasma Physics Lab, where he studied alternative energy. Since his election to the U.S. Congress in 1999, he has worked tirelessly to support education, research, human rights, conservation, the development of democracy across the globe, and health and wellness. He has served on the House Committee on Education and the Workforce, where he currently serves, on the Committee on Natural Resources, the National Commission on Mathematics and Science Teaching for the 21st Century, and he has chaired the Select Intelligence Oversight Panel and served as vice chair of the Sustainable Energy and Environment Coalition. In his spare time, he has been a teacher, an historian, a congressional science fellow, and an arms control expert at the U.S. State Department, and 5-time winner of the television show Jeopardy, which put him in position to compete with IBM's famous artificial intelligence computer, which you may remember, Watson. And by the way, Rush won that contest too. Not only a leader at the national level, Rush has been very keen on serving the people of his district by stimulating growth of innovative companies, investing in infrastructure, and connecting people to the services they need and they deserve. For his attention to people, he has received many awards and citations. Representative Holt, I invite you to say a few words to our graduate students.
Thank you, Dean Jones, Mr. President, faculty, families, and especially degree recipients, you look great today. All the degree recipients, including my mother. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be here with you for your receiving of degrees at the university my father attended, and especially to be here as the university recognizes my mother, Helen. You know, it's customary in speaking at commencements to talk about how to live long and prosper and how to do good. Here today, I have only to point to the example of my mother. Indeed, many people see her as a model and an inspiration. Although clothed in humility and never one for self-promotion, she has indeed done well and done much good for others, for our society and for our country. I would describe her characteristics as honesty, diligence, interest in everything, a determination to do her very best in every task, large or small, and an appreciation of the good in each person. She's always shown a deep love for God and country. Most of all, I would say she has always been dutiful, always considering her duty to others, to society, and to the public good. And let me return to this idea of duty to the public good shortly. Beyond self-improvement and personal fulfillment, I want to focus on duty to public good. At a commencement, one considers who we are, where we come from, where we are going, individually and as a society, as a country. And in Helen Holt, we can do well to consider both of those things. Having someone on stage in her 100th year invites a look back. In 1913, the year of my mother's birth, her father had one of Henry Ford's new cars, a Model T. Although Ford had not yet devised the moving assembly line, that was to come. On the national scale, the new parcel post delivery system allowed small town residents like her family to share in growing commercial and cultural opportunities. The Panama Canal was just completed, an enormous and much celebrated engineering feat, facilitating bi-coastal commerce and defense. That year, the income tax was instituted in the United States, not as an act of government oppression, as some today might say, but as an optimistic act of public possibility. The future was rich with possibilities. At commencements, it is customary to commemorate anniversaries. In addition to the centennial of the Panama Canal and the parcel post delivery, we of course should recognize the 150th anniversary of West Virginia's formation, the sesquicentennial of West Virginia, formed in the midst of the Civil War. We might also mark the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing slaves, or the sesquicentennial of the National Academy of Sciences, or the sesquicentennial of the creation through the Morrill Act of the land-grant colleges like West Virginia University, or the building of America's transcontinental railroad. All examples of great foresight and breathtaking optimism, considering that they were all brought forward in the midst of a civil war that might have destroyed them and the government that was creating them. They were all products of an optimistic country dedicated to self-improvement, public improvement, not just of the individual, but of the society, the culture, and the economy. It was a nation dedicated to form a more perfect union by promoting common defense and general welfare. That country, our country, has been, by most measures, a great success, socially, economically, politically, and culturally. I think it is not by accident. I think our success as a country comes from our founders' vision and our founding documents, our institutionalized optimism, and our devotion to principles continually to seek economic opportunity for fulfillment and success for all Americans, not just the privileged. I think if you looked back at commencement speeches from 100 or 150 years ago, you would find an emphasis on this idea of the public good. We might recognize and commemorate here in 2013 other anniversaries in America, the semi-centennial of the March on Washington, which took us from Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream to the public accommodations civil rights law, and then the Voting Rights Act, a leap toward greater equality of opportunity with respect to race, sex, ethnicity, and religion, and an expanded franchise for self-determination through the vote. As my mother and my wife and I were driving here this weekend along Route 40, I was reminded of another anniversary. It's been 200 years since the National Road was built, a major undertaking in its day. Now we have interstates. As we observe these bicentennials, sesquicentennials, centennials, and semi-centennials, we might ask, do these things have anything in common? The National Road, the Morrill Land Grant Act, the Transcontinental Railroad, the National Academy of Sciences, the Panama Canal, the Civil Rights Acts. They were all actions taken by Americans for the public good. They were taken at times that seemed at least inconvenient, and yet we did them. We might also think of Social Security and national programs to enhance public health and to protect clean air and clean water, and the National Science Foundation. Many of these were undertaken at great public effort and great public expense. All of these were undertaken by, yes, I'll say the word that is out of favor nowadays, the government. Every one of these things was done by an act of Congress. All of these encountered opposition, people who said, we cannot afford this now. People who said, the government cannot do this well. But in each case, the winning argument was that by working toward the public good, we will prosper socially, culturally, and too, economically. And we have. It has worked that way for 2 centuries in the United States, the world's shining light of optimism and progress. In recent years, we've lost sight of how Social Security empowers entrepreneurs by removing the fear of destitution in retirement. We've lost sight of how the interstate highway system liberates the individual. We've lost sight of how much return we get on investment in health research, and lost sight of how much richer we are if we have broadly available health care. My mother worked for the Federal Housing Administration and its successor, the Department of Housing and Urban Development. She worked for the government. She was a Republican, first appointed by Republican President Dwight Eisenhower. She initiated a program to build nursing homes of high standards across America, as you've heard this morning. Under her, more than 1,300 nursing homes were built, more than 150,000 beds. And because she did such a good job, 6 more presidents reappointed her. Republican and Democratic presidents realized that it is in the public interest to have more high-quality facilities to care for aging Americans, and that it could be done through a program created by an act of Congress. In Washington, at least in the legislative branch where I now serve, we have become a nation of diminished possibilities. The operative phrase of an earlier time, can do, is rarely heard and is replaced with a can't do attitude. We have come such a long way from the Congress that created the land grant colleges and the Transcontinental Railroad in the midst of a civil war, or a Congress that in 1944, in the midst of another war, passed the GI Bill that promised to pay and did pay tuition and stipends to millions of former soldiers and helped them buy houses. This despite a fiscal deficit proportionately much greater than today's. It was because Congress realized that it was good to invest in education, in construction, in Americans, even when times are tough and money is not plentiful. Like other investments in the public good, the GI Bill paid off handsomely. We are individually and collectively more prosperous because of it. With your new skills and your now certified excellent education, you can be forces for achieving public good. You can be proponents of the traditional American can-do attitude. You can help yourselves by helping our greater society. The American century is not just the 20th century. With rededication to the American optimistic public spirit, we can continue, you can continue to do great things for years to come. Let's do so.
Thank you, Representative, also Dr. Holt. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, please welcome Nicoletta Champa, who will sing My Home Among the Hills, composed in 1963 in honor of West Virginia University's centennial celebration by Clarksburg native Mr. E.W. James.
There's a land of rolling mountains where the sky is blue above, and though I may roam, I hurry home to the friendly hills I love, where the moonlit meadows ring with the call of whippoorwills. Always you will find me in my home among the hills, and where the sun draws rainbows in the mist of waterfalls and mountain rills. My heart will be always in the West Virginia hills. Their autumn hillsides are bright with scarlet trees, and in the spring the robins sing, while apple blossoms whisper in the breeze, and there is music in the flashing streams, and joy in fields of daffodils, laughter through the happy valleys of my home among the hills.
I will now turn to our department chairs for the presentation of degree candidates. We will recognize graduates in alphabetical order by department, beginning with biology. I invite President Clements to join me for the presentation of degree candidates.
Good morning. My name is Richard Thomas, and I'm the chair of biology. Today, biology has two students who are receiving their Doctor of Philosophy degree. The first one is Shalaka Desi. The title of her research was Physiological and Genetic Changes in Poplar During Mycorrhizal Colonization Under Phosphorus Limitation, and her mentor was Dr. Jonathan Cumming. Our second student was John Navaratnam, and his dissertation was Phosphorus Retention and Transformation in Floodplain Forest of the Southeastern United States, and his advisor was me.
Good morning, I'm Jeff Peterson. I'm representing the chemistry department as the associate chair and the current acting chair. I'm pleased to introduce our doctoral students for the May commencement. The first student is Dr. Kathleen A. Burke. Title of her dissertation is The Role of Polyglutamine Length and Protein Context in Disease-Related Huntington Lipid Interactions. Her advisor is Dr. Justin Legleiter. Congratulations. Our next doctoral student is Dr. Jordan W. Moran. Title of his dissertation is Forensic and Toxicological Applications of Franz diffusion cells assessed by gas chromatography, mass spectrometry, and ion mobility spectrometry. He will be hooded by Dr. Suzanne Bell. Congratulations, Jordan. Get your picture. Our next doctoral student is Dr. Lucy Sean Oldfield. Title of her dissertation is Application of Liquid Chromatography, Tandem Mass Spectrometry Techniques to Forensic, Environmental, and Clinical Analysis. She'll be also hooded by her advisor, Suzanne Bell. Our next doctoral student is Jinwei Wu Tepke, and she's going to be hooded by two advisors, her co-advisors, Lisa Holland. Just one? Okay, sorry. Lisa Holland. Next doctoral student is Dr. Elizabeth A. Yates. Title of her dissertation is Surfaces Modulate Beta Amyloid Peptide Aggregation Associated with Alzheimer's Disease. She'll be hooded by her mentor, Dr. Justin Legleiter. Next doctoral student is Dr. Sri Lakshmi Yedlapalli. Her dissertation title is Magnetic Nanoparticles for Bioanalytical Applications. She will be hooded by Lisa Holland and Letha Suter. Our last doctoral student from chemistry is Xinya Zhang. Title of her dissertation is Forensic, Archaeological, and Related Applications of Inductively Coupled Plasma Mass Spectrometry. She'll be also hooded by her advisor, Dr. Suzanne Bell. It's also my pleasure to introduce our master's degree candidates, and they'll be hooded by Dr. Harry Finkley. First candidate is Sahida A. Aparaj. Our last master's candidate is Doreen Makaya. She'll be also hooded by Dr. Finkley. Congratulations. Card? Well, I don't have your card. I'm sorry. Harry, I think you got the card? Don't want to leave her out. Dr. Zhao K. Shen, her dissertation title is Aging Effects of the Cathode and Determination of Single Electrode Performance in a Solid Oxide Fuel Cell. She'll be hooded by her research mentor, Dr. Harry Finkley. Congratulations.
Good morning. My name is Matt Martin. I'm the chair of the Department of Communication Studies. First, we have Dr. Christopher J. Kloss, who's receiving his Doctor of Philosophy. The title of his dissertation is The Effects of Student Behavior Alteration Techniques on Student Motives to Communicate, Student Talk, and Student Learning, and he is being hooded by his advisor, Dr. Scott Myers. The next individuals are receiving their Master's of Arts degree, and they will also be hooded by Dr. Scott Myers. Joyce Leonard. Charlene St. Clair. Adrian Van Voris.
Good morning. My name is James Harms. I'm the chair of the Department of English, and it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the candidates for the Ph.D. in English. Our first student here today is Dr. Amy Green. Title of her dissertation, From Sinners to Saints, Emerging Agency in American Women's Novels Before the Civil War, and she is being hooded by her dissertation director, Dr. Timothy Sweet. Next, Dr. James Green. Dissertation titled, None But the Bravest of Men, Violence and Popular Sovereignty and Revolutionary War Veteran Narratives, also being hooded by Dr. Timothy Sweet. Our third doctoral candidate is Dr. Erin John Spees. Title of her dissertation, The Modernist Sublime, Parenthood and the Intersubjective Sublime Subject in Faulkner, Forster, Lawrence, and Wolfe, being hooded today by Dr. Lisa Wyman. And now it is my pleasure to introduce the students who have completed the requirements for the Masters of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, and they will be hooded by Professor Marianne Salmon. First is Connie Pan. Shane Stricker. Next, we'll be recognizing our students who are receiving the Master of Arts in Professional Writing and Editing. They will be hooded by Dr. Brian Ballantyne. Our first is Christine Schussler. Jillian Swisher. Our final Master of Arts in Professional Writing and Editing candidate will be hooded by Dr. Catherine Gouge. Eric Wardell.
Good morning. I'm Keith Morris, the Director of the Forensic Investigative Science Program, and it is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed requirements for the Master's degree in Forensic and Investigative Science, who are today going to be hooded by Dr. Suzanne Bell. Amanda Marie Cadu, Brianne Miller, Casey Alexa, and Sushana Samantha Williams.
I'm Steve Kite, and it's my pleasure to introduce two Ph.D. candidates in our department. First of all, Dr. Naomi Yeko Shangura, Doctor of Philosophy and Geography. Her dissertation is Dialectics of Rule Change, a Political Economy of Livelihoods and Land Use and Cover Change in Western Kenya. And she's being hooded by Dr. Brett McCusker. Brian Edward Tell is a candidate for the Doctor of Philosophy in Geology. His dissertation is entitled The Use of 3D Seismic as Azimuthal Isofrequency Volumes for the Detection and characterization of high porosity permeability zones in carbonate reservoir.
Good morning. I am Elizabeth Phoneswolf, Chair of the History Department, and I'm pleased to introduce the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and History. Our first Ph.D. candidate is Dr. Michael J. Boozman, whose dissertation is entitled Vending Vice, The Rise and Fall of West Virginia State Prohibition, 1952 to 1934, and he's being hooded by me, his advisor. Our next candidate is Dr. Joel C. Christensen, dissertation From Gunboats to Good Neighbors, U.S. Naval Diplomacy in Peru, 1919 to 1942, advisor James Siekmeyer. Dr. Eric D. Duchess, Between Frontier and Factory, Growth and Development in Washington, Pennsylvania, 1810 to 1870, advisor, Dr. Ken Phoneswolf. Dr. David E. Goldberg, The Retreats of Reconstruction, Race, Leisure, and the Politics of Segregation at the New Jersey Shore, 1865 to 1920, advisor, Dr. Aaron Sheehan-Dean. Dr. Ginny A. Turman, Appalachian Alternatives, the Back-to-Land Migration and Community Change in Appalachia, 1970 to 2000, advisor, Dr. Ken Phoneswolf. It is now my pleasure to introduce students who have completed the requirements for the master's degree in history, and they are being hooded by various advisors. The first one is Alan W. Beavers, advisor, Dr. Robert Maxson. Andrew W. Fialka, advisor, Dr. Aaron Sheehan-Dean. Andrew T. Knotts, advisor, Dr. Aaron Sheehan-Dean. Kyle J. Meadows, advisor, Dr. Robert Blowbaum. Christopher A. Ramazan, advisor, Dr. Robert Maxson.
Good morning. My name is Maya Holmes. I'm representing the Department of Public Administration, and it is my pleasure to introduce the students who have completed the requirements for the Master of Legal Studies. They're being hooded by Dr. Nancy Adams. Rebecca Oliver. Sally Wyatt.
Good morning. I'm Eddie Fuller, Chair of the Department of Mathematics, and it's my pleasure to introduce the students who have completed requirements for a master's degree in mathematics. Nicholas S. Brown. Alec Andrew Durnach. Emine Guven.
Good morning. I'm DJ Pisana, representing the Department of Physics, and it's my pleasure to introduce our student who's completed the requirements for the master's degree in physics, Emmanuel Josh Fernandez, Master of Science, Physics.
Good morning. I am Jason McDonald, Director of Graduate Studies in the Department of Political Science. This morning, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you the candidate for Ph.D. in Political Science, Dr. Charles Damian Arthur. Damian is being hooded by his advisor, Professor Robert DeClerico, and the title of his dissertation is Economic Demagoguery, the Limited Effects of Presidential Rhetoric. In addition, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you students who have completed the requirements for a master's degree in political science. They are also being hooded by Professor Robert DeClerico. Frederick H. McDonald. William N. Shelton. Seda Yildirim.
Good morning. I'm Tracy Morris, Chair of the Department of Psychology. It is my pleasure to introduce candidates for the Doctorate of Philosophy in Psychology. Dr. Lisa Marie D. Donato. Lisa's dissertation title is Effects of Stereotype Threat on Adolescents' Math and Visual Spatial Performance. She is being hooded by Dr. Natalie Shook. Dr. Adam Fox. A comparison of responses of exteroceptive stimuli as time markers. Advisor, Liz Kaonka. Dr. James Henry. Reactivity, coping, and adjustment after bereavement. Is being hooded by Dr. Catherine Carricker. Dr. Meredith Smith. Giving support and mental health in older adults with vision impairment. Advisor, Amy Fisk. Dr. John Terizzi. On the origin of shame, feelings of disgust toward the self. Advisor, Dr. Natalie Shook. Dr. Allison Tatro. Vocal variability in autism spectrum disorders, assessment and intervention to increase novel vocalizations in nonverbal children. Advisor, Dr. Joseph Scotti. It is now my pleasure to introduce candidates for the Master of Science in Psychology. Matthew McNally. Our Master MS candidates are being hooded by Dr. Barry Edelstein. Janelle Mentrikoski. Nathaniel Rice. Rachel Stoiko. Pamela Tessier. Chit Yen Yi.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Margaret Stout, and I am pleased to represent the Department of Public Administration, joined by my colleagues Nancy Adams, Maya Holmes, and Karen Coons. Karen will hood all of our candidates for the degree of Master of Public Administration on our behalf. Frank Annie. Lauren Brennan. Curvins Brune. Amanda Demchuk. Alyssa Keedy. Robert Lawson. Brianna Lovell. Mariana Matthews. Matthew Pauley. Michelle Perosic. Taylor Richmond. Justin Roth. Michael Shukri. Caitlin Spratt. Brianna Chloe Cash Dollar Swisher. Abigail York Wheeler. Grant White. Sarah Wood. Ela Zia. And Nicole Jadek.
Good afternoon. My name is Christopher Pline, and I'm the Interim Director of the School of Social Work. It is my pleasure to introduce those who have completed the requirements of the Master of Social Work degree, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Dr. Helen Hartnett, Dr. Carrie Rischel, Ms. Lori Fell, and Dr. Neil Newfield, who will be doing the hooding for the School of Social Work. Michael Anderson. Jackie L. Bennett. Shani Lynn Kalassi. Emily Jane Chilco. Anna Rachel Chisholm. Cassandra Kaufman. Chandra D. Duke. Ashley L. Dunlap. Holly Frances Dvorak. Brittany Island. Lauren M. Frederick. Nicole R. Gardner. Samantha Gift. Carly C. Glover. Washington Gandhi. Leroya Danita Hartman. Shadrina Muriel Hassel. Stephanie N. Hatcher. Brooke A. Hinkle. Paula A. Hoaglander. Kristen Carol Kleinschmidt. Jessica Diane Leck. Jaleesa Carol Lewis. Sarah L. Lewis. Nancy J. Longworth. Christopher B. Lopez. Leah D. Lowe. Colleen R. Lynn. Stephanie Davis Majetic. Marshall W. Markley. Maria L. McCabe. Megan E. Morris. Heidi Marie Mueller. Kristen M. Myers. Tuti Natwin. Fanika J. Payne. Michelle J. Perozic. Jessica L. Poe. Renee N. Pugh. Holly M. Rhodes. Tiffany A. Rose Wilhelm. Teresa M. Sigler. Brittany A. Solomon. Caitlin S. Sussman. Charles M. Swager. Thank you all very much.
Good morning. My name is Corey Collier. I'm the chair of the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. And it's my pleasure to introduce to you the students who have completed the requirements for the Master of Arts degree in Sociology. They will be hooded by Dr. Joshua Woods. Frank H. Annie. Clara M. Simmons.
Good morning. My name is Jim Horner. I'm chair of the Department of Statistics. It is my pleasure to introduce a candidate for the Master of Professional Studies in Applied Statistics. Lori Rush is the first graduate of this program, which is a new program to our department, so I congratulate her. It is now my pleasure to introduce students who have completed requirements for the Master of Science in Statistics. They are being hooded by Dr. Culp, and I forgot to mention Dr. Culp hooded Lori Rush, Dr. Culp and Dr. Phil Turk. Niraj Amin. Lisa Cantanzaro. Rachel Chittister. Lemian Fang. Jordan Helmick. Lakshmi Jasti. Thena Machiavelli. Bella.
Good morning. I'm Angel Tuninetti, Chair of the Department of World Languages, Literatures, and Linguistics. It is my pleasure to introduce students who have completed requirements for the master's degree in World Languages, Literatures, and Linguistics, and they will be hooded by Dr. Sandra Stepanovic. From Saudi Arabia, Dina Al-Hajaydan. From Saudi Arabia, Huda Al-Mokren. From Colombia, Tatiana Álvarez Calderón. From Argentina, María de los Milagros Baker. From Argentina, Lorena Ballester. From Mexico, Lenny Cowich Maldonado. From Taiwan, Shi Yu Chang. From West Virginia, Natalie Klein. From Peru, Claudio Eduardo Pinto. From Spain, Sandra Fernández Mula. From West Virginia, Allison Fleming. From Ukraine, Olina Foriona. From France, Guillaume Fourreau. From Argentina, María Inés Jiménez. From West Virginia, Christopher Goodall. From Spain, Esperanza Gorriz Jarque. From West Virginia, Rachel Green. From Spain, Elena Jaime Jiménez. From Spain, Alicia Jurado Ramírez. From Virginia, Michael Morris. From Brazil, Cecilia Pucci Orrego. From Spain, Salvador Reche de Paco. From Bolivia, Araceli Rivero Cuellar. From Burkina Faso, Tiwinde M. Sanguidi. From Spain, Ruth San Salinero. From England, Yvonne Shaw. From Spain, Cristina Soriano Ruiz. Congratulations.
Please welcome President Clements for the official conferral of degrees.
On behalf of West Virginia University, I'd like to thank all of the special guests who are here today with us, including Congressman Rush Holt, Dr. Helen Holt, and West Virginia Secretary of State Natalie Tennant, along with her husband, Senator Eric Wells, and their daughter, Delaney. Graduates, as you distinguish yourselves in your career, you will also bring distinction to your alma mater. We are proud to associate our university's name with yours. So don't be afraid to be bold, don't be afraid to be criticized, and don't be afraid to take risks. Imagine the world that you want to live in, then work hard to make that vision a reality. Along the way, please keep in touch with your WVU mentors and friends, and with the developments on our campus. Your college, led by Dean Bob Jones, is really doing great things, and I can't wait to see where the journey takes you and how the tools you received at WVU help you to make your mark on the world. Congratulations and best of luck to all of you. Now, will the class of 2013 please stand? Candidates from the Eberly College of Arts and Sciences. As students in WVU's largest and most diverse college, you represent a wide range of disciplines. To whatever career you pursue, you will bring certain qualities: the ability to think clearly, to communicate effectively, to discover and analyze information, and to continue learning for a lifetime. Among you are future scientists, authors, educators, lawyers, doctors, and other professionals. Your studies in literature and the humanities, mathematics and natural science, and social and behavioral sciences will prepare you for many careers. Just as important, it will prepare you for life, as an informed citizen, as an active community leader, and as someone who enjoys learning new things. As West Virginia University's newest graduates, always aspire to put your education to work, solving our world's greatest challenges. Continue to cultivate your global awareness and aim to create a more peaceful and just world. Constantly refine your abilities to uncover facts, analyze problems, and communicate clearly. Dream big and never stop learning. Share your pride in West Virginia University wherever you go, and act as ambassadors for WVU and the life-changing power of education. Now, by the virtue of the authority vested in me by West Virginia University Board of Governors, I hereby confer upon you the degrees for which you have been recommended, with the rights, honors, and privileges appertaining thereto. Would you all please congratulate our newest graduates? A little louder, please.
Well, now that you are graduates, we have another thing to attend to. I invite Dr. Sean Storrs, a 2005 graduate of the Department of Political Science and a 2000 graduate of our Public Administration program, to provide the alumni charge to our graduates. As a Presidential Management Fellow, Sean worked as a policy analyst in the Office of Strategic Management with the Social Security Administration in Baltimore, Maryland. He currently serves as a senior institutional research staff supporting West Virginia University by providing decision support to the administration. Sean is a former Southern Regional Education Board Fellow, a W.E.B. Du Bois Fellow, and an academic All-American. Pretty impressive. In addition to having taught as an adjunct instructor in the Department of Public Administration, his research interests include agenda setting, race and education policy, policy assessment, and policy variation. Sean?
On behalf of all the graduates of the university who have preceded you, I extend to each member of the class of 2013 congratulations and best wishes. Today, you're joining a legacy of success that reaches back almost 150 years. Over that time, WVU graduates have succeeded in almost every field of human endeavor. They've been heroes in battle. They've lifted our spirits through the arts. They have revolutionized technology. They have saved lives. They have committed themselves to public service. They have explored the mysteries of our universe. They have built business enterprises that employ thousands. They have nurtured society's next generation. The story of each graduate is unique. WVU has given you the tools to succeed, but you must each find your own path to success. With that in mind, I offer this charge to you, the class of 2013. As you enter one phase of your career, start learning what you need to advance to the next stage. When you set goals, be flexible, and don't be afraid to change your plan if circumstances warrant it. As you work toward your goals, don't forget to spend time nurturing relationships. As you develop your unique gifts, apply them in ways that make our world better. When you have to choose between thinking like the crowd or thinking for yourself, choose to be an innovator. When you have the chance to explore a new place or a new perspective, by all means, take it. As you travel the world, wear your flying WV with pride. When people ask you where you learned to succeed, tell them you're a mountaineer. Once again, congratulations to you, West Virginia University's class of 2013. Thank you.
Class of 2013, family and friends, faculty and honored guests, please rise as we join together in singing the words of our alma mater, written in 1939 by WVU graduate student Louis Corson. During the singing of the alma mater, it is customary for gentlemen to remove their caps. You'll find the words to the alma mater inside the cover of the program.
Our alma mater, the home of mountaineers, sing we of thy honor, everlasting through the years. Our alma
All right, this concludes our commencement. To our friends and families, I wish you safe travels, and to our newly minted alumni, happiness. I ask that you remain in your chairs until the platform party has finished its recessional, and I invite all of you to join us for a reception in the lobby of the Creative Arts Center. Thank you.